Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 265 of Optimal Living Advice, the podcast where we take any questions you might have about the many struggles of life and get them answered for you here on the show. I am your host, certified life coach Greg Audino, reminding you before we begin that if you have a question you would like help with on the show, we welcome you to email it to us at advice@oldpodcast.com. It would be my absolute pleasure to help you out. Now, today, folks, we have another question about love on the slab. Our asker today is seemingly fed up with not knowing whether or not she's with the person she's supposed to marry. She's looking for tips on how to know, but I think there's a lot more to this question than just tips, particularly because of how she's asked it. So, let's see if we can put something together and talk realistically about how well we can expect to know whether or not we're with our forever person. Here we go. A lot of dating experts have different things to say about how you know you're with the person you're supposed to marry. I want to hear what you have to say about it, because I'm struggling to find answers about my own relationship and know if it's the real thing. What a driven question we have here. Thank you for sending this in, Asker. I'm not certain I'm a dating expert, but thank you. I am certain that I'm not married and never have been, so do with that what you will. But the way you've constructed this question is interesting. Obviously, I can't tell if there's an underlying sense of frustration or joy or hesitation, nervousness or what. But what I do notice is that you've spoken only about your efforts and desperation to find answers, with no talk of the relationship itself. And make no mistake, I'm not saying this is right or wrong. It's just that a question like this would, usually, be accompanied by a brief breakdown of maybe how long you've been together, if you're living together, and all that. But it's not there. You seem to be looking more for a checklist or some directions rather than insight about your specific relationship. And I just can't help but to address that. So with that in mind, my first suggestion might be that you spend some time reflecting on why you're in such a hurry to get answers from someone. Are you craving validation? Do you need someone else who's not involved in your relationship to give you the green light before you marry this person? Why is expert advice so paramount to you? It's a great thing to seek help, and it's a natural thing when you're contemplating such a big commitment. I don't fault you for that at all. But I do think we all need to realize the inherent risk in relying so much on help from others. We can't let that replace our own ability to make decisions. Whether it be the dating experts you mentioned having consulted already, or a therapist, or myself, this is still a decision you have to come to on your own. This is still your work to do. And doing so is particularly crucial when it comes to what is probably the biggest commitment of your life. Others can support you in this, and I'm at least happy to do that. But don't lose sight of the fact that you have to take the lead on this one. And I know that can be scary, and with a decision so life-changing, we want as much certainty as possible, of course. I get it. But the honest truth and the best answer I can give you to this question is that you're not necessarily going to find that certainty. Marriage may have all the bells and whistles attached to it, but at the end of the day, it's not so different than any other big decisions that involve our long-term participation and sacrifice. When you boil everything down, you're still going to have to embrace uncertainty, just as you would in the face of any other commitment. I can't give you a checklist on this one. There's no such thing. There are too many variables for that, in spite of what they might tell you. I guess if I could give you one tip off the top of my head, it would be that your values need to align more than your lifestyles. So the thing about opposites attracting, that can be true when it comes to small tasks and decisions. But when it comes to the blueprint by which we live our lives, our values, no. Sure, if you have a partner that you enjoy a lot of hobbies with or have the same day-to-day as, that can be awesome. But it will never be as important as having the same values. But even with that, I can still think up scenarios in which people with the same values and lifestyles probably aren't best for one another. So again, there isn't a checklist with all of this. And frankly, if there was, you'd probably still be suspicious of it anyway because of how big this commitment can feel and how desperately you're seeking answers. And mind you, other people want answers to this stuff too, but we can't have them. So Whether or not you two are meant to be together, I can't say. Even if you provided a lot of detail about the relationship itself, it would still not be my place to say. But what I can say is this. We're not good at commitment these days, or at least we're not good at accepting its inevitability. So your ability to be present in this relationship and give yourself over to it more easily will depend a lot on how well you can relinquish yourself of the fantasy that you need it to feel exactly right, or that it's going to work all the time, or that you need to know these things in advance in order for the commitment to be worth it. Spend more time looking at the relationship for what it is. Spend more time being realistic about your concerns and how common they might be amongst other people who have made happy marriages work. Spend more time accepting fear and exploring when it's healthy versus when it's unhealthy. If you find that all this comes down to a really functional relationship that fulfills your needs, topped only with a smattering of your nervousness about the longevity of this commitment, then I'll just say you're in good company. If there are more serious issues at hand, that's a different conversation. Many thanks for joining me today, everybody. Asker, I hope this helped you to redirect your pursuits a bit and rid yourself of the need to have a guide to follow. I'll also say that this really speaks to something I've been confronted with lately on a personal level. This fight to know as much as possible and be as prepared as possible before moving forward. A certain degree is healthy, of course, but that line can be hard to find. That line where we're no longer finding answers, but avoiding more than anything. So stay aware of that line, and I'll try to do the same. We're in this together. Be good, everyone. Hope to see you next time in 266, and I'm wishing you all luck out there until then.